John, wake up.
What's it?
Next door, I heard a scream.
Stay here. I'll go check it out.
John? Is everything all right?
Oh my God, you're covered in blood.
Go back inside. It's not mine. It's not. Go back inside and call an ambulance right now. Go!
I like your dolls.
You survived. You don't come out the other side of something like this weaker. What is there left to be scared of?
This is the last of them. How did that get in there? I swear I threw it out.
Things must have got mixed up. There, she fits right in.
Come to mommy, come to mommy.
Shabam, shabam. Shabam, shabam. Shabam, shabam. Shabam, shabam.
There are things happening that I can't explain.
We should talk to someone.
I don't think what you're experiencing is a ghost.
Sometimes demons can attach themselves to objects.
What do I do?
Protect your family.
Who are you?
Fans are experts, movie month. It's my 6th year doing movie month. 30 movies, 30 days, 30 podcasts that you get to listen to. Fans are experts, movie month. It's my 6th year doing movie month. 30 movies, 30 days, 30 podcasts that you get to listen to, including this one right here. But wait, one more time. Fans are experts, movie month. It's my 6th year doing movie month. 30 movies, 30 days, 30 podcasts that you have the pleasure of listening to. An episode is about to start right now. An episode is about to start right now. The theme song is fading out because an episode is starting right now. Want to be in reverse, not drive. I'm getting pretty good at this podcasting while driving thing. You know what else I'm getting good at? Watching horror movies during the day. I mean, look, I'm a grown man. I know these are just movies, but there's something about watching a horror movie when it's pitch black out and then having to, be in a house where everyone's asleep and it's quiet and your imagination goes wild. That happened years ago when I watched Paranormal Activity, the first one. I just remember after watching it having to walk down the hallway to my bedroom, and I mean it was like 10 feet, but it just kind of freaked me out a bit. At least I didn't have long scary hallways like in the apartment in this movie. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to day 17, I'm checking my watch, day 17 of movie month, where today I watched Annabelle, the follow-up to The Conjuring. I think this was 1 year later, 2014, and I was listening to another podcast where that Annabelle doll in the first Conjuring really played a minor role. But they showed it a lot, which makes me think they were setting up this kind of spin-off, you could say, prequel, sequel, with that doll. And here we are. And I have to say, this Annabelle doll, it isn't, I don't know, it isn't what I thought it would be. Like, it's not Chucky. It's not a possessed doll, well, or is it? Running around stabbing people. But it is a creepy-ass doll, and it makes you wonder, why would you bring this into your home? So, the movie starts exactly like The Conjuring. Back with the nurses talking about Annabelle, saying that they had this doll that one of the nursing students' mother bought, and she thought she would find it interesting. And then there was a spirit of a 4-year-old girl named Annabelle who died and said she needed to be, so she wanted to go inside the doll, I think is what they said. So they let it kind of possess the doll. But if you remember from The Conjuring, a human ghost cannot possess a doll or cannot possess something. Only an unliving spirit can do something like that. So, like a demon. I have my blinker on. I hate this 4-way cross. Okay, here I go. Like a demon, as I said, a demon. Ooh. So, and, you know, this picked up at the beginning, but they did not show Via Farmiga, right? I'm saying that right? Or Patrick Wilson. They did not show Ed and Lorraine Warren. They're just a voice. I don't even know if that was Patrick Wilson's voice. I don't think so. There was a little extra talking about it, saying, you know, she got it at some store or something. And then we flash back only 1 year. So, you know, there's a movie already out called Annabelle Creation that talks about the doll. I assume it talks about the beginnings of the doll. My just out of complete guessing, I thought it was back in, like, you know, Salem witch trial times. I don't know. And then there's the coming out soon is Annabelle Comes Home, something like that. And then we also have The Conjuring 2 and The Nun. So we got a lot of movies to follow up on, and maybe I can get to the point where I see Annabelle Comes Home, a sequel to John Cryer's Coming Home. That's not true. Maybe I can see that in the theater by the end of the month. We shall see. We still have 13 more days, which means 13 more movies. Lots to do. And we have another series we're also catching up on. And there's some movies that I want to see that aren't part of a series. And thank God they're not pirates. That sucked last year. Now, I was confused by the whole thing with Annabelle. So the nurses in The Conjuring and the beginning of this said that Annabelle was a child, and they asked to live inside the doll, right? I guess something like that. But according to this movie, Annabelle is the grown-up child of the next-door neighbor of Ken and Barbie Smith. I'm just assuming that's what their names were. And so let's get started. So there's this perfect white bread American couple in the 70s. This is 1 year earlier. And they're pregnant. They're expecting their first child. And they're at church. And, you know, they have this neighbor friend. And the neighbor friends are like, you know, good luck, children are blessed. You know, until they start talking, joking around. And then they, you know, the neighbors, they split ways after church, and they're like, maybe we shouldn't have talked about a baby in front of them. And the husband's like, why? Their baby didn't die. Their child didn't die. It grew up and it moved off with the hippies. So, you know, there's something there. There's something there that's going to come back. There's no reason for that to be said. There's movies where you know when things are said or done that that's going to come back. So meanwhile, this guy is going to be trying to move up the ranks of being a doctor, and he brings home a gift for his pregnant wife, a beautiful, weird, creepy doll. It's the Annabelle doll. Now, this is where I'm thinking, okay, this doll, there's nothing wrong with this doll yet. This doll's fine, right? At this point, it's just a doll, right? Like, if this point it's just a doll, what the hell is Annabelle creation? That's what I'm curious. Like, is this doll just unlucky? Because the doll's creepy looking, but it was like, this is the exact doll I was looking for to complete my collection. Yay, yippee, skippy. Puts the doll on the shelf in the baby's room because, creepy. And then they go to bed that night, and there's some lightning. I like the lighting, how this is done. There wasn't lightning, so you see them sleeping. And then through the window into the next door neighbors, I really liked how this was done. You saw the light turn on, and you couldn't hear them say, what they were saying, but they were having some kind of discussion like there's something going on in the house. You see the husband walk away. This is all you're kind of looking in from the house next door. You see the husband walk away, and then after a few seconds, you see the wife just sitting in bed, feeling nervous. It's all silhouettes, or close to silhouettes. And then you see blood splatter on the window, and you're like, oh my God. And then you see this guy with a knife approach, climb onto the bed, and the room goes black. The woman wakes up the woman in our house. Her name is Mia. She wakes up hearing a scream and tells the husband, you got to go check it out. There's something going on. Should we call the cops? He's like, you just heard a scream. It's probably nothing. He goes to the house. She goes outside. Now you realize they leave the door open. When she goes outside and he goes outside, I'm like, oh God, someone's in their house. Someone already snuck into their house. He runs out of the house with blood all over him, going, it's not my blood, it's not my blood. Call 911. Call an ambulance. They don't say call 911. Call an ambulance. She runs into the house, and you see this woman in like a dress walk by in the background, like spookily. And while she's on the phone, she, says, we need an ambulance. There's something going on next door. Hangs up, hears something, goes into the bedroom, and I think it just kind of, all of a sudden, the shit hits the fan where the woman attacks her, and the dude who stabbed people attack as well. And they stab her right in her pregnant belly. And I was like, Jesus Christ! They stab her. The husband rushes back in, starts beating them up. They're fighting, yada, 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 yada. The woman locks herself in the room of the unborn baby. The nursery. Locks herself in there. All of a sudden, the cops come in because she called the ambulance. Bang, bang, bang. Kill this guy. They look in the other room, and the woman is dead. The woman killed herself. She scribbled some sort of incantation, some sort of symbol in blood on the wall. Killed herself, and she's holding the Annabelle doll. Oh, yeah, because she said when she was in the house, she goes, I like your dolls, which was creepy. And she bled. A little drop of her blood landed on the doll's face. I'm not going to say Annabelle. It landed on the doll's face. And the doll, it almost like sucked the blood in, like it absorbed it. So is that when the doll got special powers? Is that when the doll became possessed? Because as it turns out, this couple was part of some weird hippie cult. They showed a clip earlier of the Manson family, so it was around that time where I guess a lot of that was going around. Excuse me. I'm still driving, making good time. And where was I? I'm trying to think what happens here, because it's simple but effective kind of horror. So they go back to the house. That's right. She goes back to the house, and she spooky stuff happens, and of course he has to go away for a couple days. And she's like, get rid of this doll. That woman was holding the doll. I don't want this doll anymore. Takes Annabelle, and Annabelle it's just a deadpan, flat doll, creepy face. The husband throws the doll in the garbage, leaves for his trip. The night before they were going to have Jiffy Pop. They don't call it Jiffy Pop, but it's Jiffy Pop. He leaves it on the oven, but he turns off the oven and he leaves. She's sewing, and every time she's sewing, I'm covering my hand because I'm like, she's going to nip her finger. Like a ghost, a ghoul could come out and scare her, and the thought of her sewing her finger scared me more. Just made me uncomfortable. So she does sew her finger, and while she hears something, and she's like, "What?" She didn't smell anything, but somehow the oven turned itself back on. The Jiffy Pop turned ablaze, and there was a fire in the house. She was like, oh my God. She falls down. She's still pregnant. She's recovering from being stabbed, but the baby survived. She's crawling away, and something pulled her back, which was creepy. Luckily, neighbors got in, pulled her out. The husband raced home, got to the hospital. She's alive, and he says, turn around, and there's your baby daughter, born, and everything's okay. And she's like, I can't go back to that house. I just can't now. Especially since the Jiffy Pop almost burned it down. She didn't say that. I did. He's like, don't worry. I have a job offer, and we'll move to those apartments in Pasadena, further away. Yada, yada, yada. So they move to a new apartment where they run into these little kids who are friendly, but not overly friendly because the brother doesn't want her to talk to strangers. They have a neighbor who, notices them from afar. It's Alfred Woodard, who's great in everything. Recently I've seen her in, Unfortunate Events on Netflix, and Luke Cage on Nick Cage is completely different. Luke Cage on Netflix. So she's a terrific actress. And I had no idea she was in this. So she's, to me, is the only name. And she owns a bookstore, and at one point she walks by with a baby, and looks into the woman looks into the store and sees like a devil book, and Alfred Woodard comes out. She's like, oh, hello, here's a nice little baby book for her. And my thinking is, this is, Alfred Woodard is part of the evil spirit. So, haunting stuff happens, creepy stuff happens. And as always, the doll seems to be there. Oh, they move into the apartment, they go through the box of moving, and there's Annabelle. He's like, I thought you threw that away. And, he's like, I did throw it away. He goes, let me get rid of it. She goes, you know what? No. Let's keep it. You got it from me as a gift. Let's keep it. You stupid woman. You can't keep a doll that a woman killed herself holding. That's haunting 101. Ridiculous. I wouldn't even keep any of those creepy dolls. Never mind the extra creepy Annabelle. So they keep the doll. Great move. Now she's in this apartment, and all the time creepy stuff happens. She goes back to the bookstore because she thinks something's bad is happening. She goes back to the bookstore, talks to Alfred Woodard. She could tell something is up. Gives her all these books on possessions and ghost hauntings because, of course, there's a bookstore right there with a woman who lives in your building who has the answers. Those creepy little kids. Someone left drawings of the kid getting run over by a baby getting run over by a truck. That almost happened. These little things that just make me cringe, of like a carriage rolling into a street. Like, I had to cover my eyes with these things. It was just like the uncomfortableness. And there were jump scares too. I literally went, a couple times, or Jesus Christ, a couple times. I was praying, obviously, while watching this movie in broad daylight. I mean, this is before noontime I'm watching this. So she talks with Alfred. Her and Alfred Woodard talk a little more. They become friends. She talks about her daughter passed away. There was a car accident. She shows her a locket where her and her daughter are next to each other. And that reminded me of the locket in The Conjuring, where the mother, where Vera Farmiga and her daughter had a locket. The big theme in these movies so far are mother and child. Mother and child. There was the mother and child in the Warren family, the mother and child in the possessed family, the mother and child with the witch, the Salem witch, who was like killing children and possessing the mothers to kill the child. This time, the demon seemingly maybe wants the baby, and Alfre Woodard is talking about her child and how she passed away in an accident. And they show scars on her wrist that she tried to kill herself at one point because she was so depressed about her daughter. Now, this haunting stuff still happens, so they bring in their priest who talks about, this creepy doll, and he starts knowing the rules about possession and demons and inhuman stuff because every priest, I guess, is taught that. And he talks about, he'll take the doll. So maybe that'll, if he brings it to a sacred place. But he puts the doll in the back seat of his car. Now, to me, that's Scary Movie 101. Put the doll in the front seat on the floor, right? Safe. If it moves, you can see it. You can step on it. If you're in the back seat, it's going to slit your throat or something. I was expecting the doll to jump up and kill him. I was expecting a truck, because whenever they film someone and the camera's in the passenger seat and the person is driving along, I'm always expecting that trope of a truck or a car just coming along at full speed and smashing into the car. I just drove through an intersection where that could have happened, so that was creepy. There was a real creepy moment because they saying, we know that it's a demon from The Conjuring. There was a creepy moment where the doll stood up in the apartment and then floated up, and then you saw a demon behind it holding it. So it's it's not even the doll; it's a demon. And never ever do they call the doll Annabelle, ever. The woman who killed herself holding the doll, it was the next door neighbor's daughter, Annabelle. Oh, and the woman, the star of the movie, the main woman, in real life, her name, Annabelle. So there's some creepiness there. But apparently, my guess is that the woman did the incantation because a police officer told them that they were part of the something of the ram, the curse of the ram, the cult of the ram, whatever. That's what the group was. She found them and researched them, found the same sign that she painted in blood. Obviously, and he said they weren't trying to kill people for no reason. They were trying to conjure something. Conjure, you say? Well, they did conjure some sort of demon, and the demon went inside Annabelle and went inside the doll, whatever the doll's name is, and I guess, and then they said it wants your soul, but you can't just take a soul; it needs to be given up. Now, at one point, the haunting shit is going on, and Alfre Woodard is like, "Come on, let's get out of here. Come with me. Come with me." And I'm like, "Oh, here it is." This is where we realize Alfre Woodard is not who she claims to be. She's trying to trick her into saying, "Come with me. Come with me." Nope, not at all. Alfre Woodard was just a helpful person who buys the kid pajamas and knows a lot about demons and shit. The baby, so the dad realizes that, and the priest realizes that it's not going to take the soul of the baby. That's what they think. It's not going to take the soul of the baby because the baby can't give up her soul. It really wants to take the soul of the mother. But the mother doesn't know that. So the mother thinks that they're coming for the baby's soul, and the demon is like, at one point, her soul. And she's like, no, how do I stop this? And then they said, your soul, meaning if I take your soul, I won't need your baby's soul. But the whole time they didn't need the baby's soul. It's just tricking her into giving up her soul. She stands up and is about to commit suicide. The dad comes in and he's like, no, don't do that. Pulls her down. And she's like, but how are we going to make it end? And Alfre Woodard is like, I know how. And then she takes the doll and jumps out the window, kills herself. And all of a sudden the baby's safe. The baby's safe. We don't know where the doll is. The 6 months have gone by. Everyone seems to be doing better. There's a picture of the mother and the daughter that the priest took. No haunting stuff there. I was fully expecting that to come back. He took a picture of them earlier. I was fully expecting some sort of haunting thing to happen. I don't know what else to say. That was kind of... So then the end of the movie shows they're like, hey, do we know where the doll is? They're like, no, we don't know where the doll is at all. They're like, okay. In that case, if anything ever comes up or if anything weird ever happens, let me know, the priest said. They're like, okay. And that's kind of it with this family. They're like, whoever runs across this family again, I hope everything turns out okay with them. Whoever runs across this doll again, I hope everything ends up okay with them. And they're like, yeah, me too. And then the last scene, we see there's like a thrift shop, and a woman comes in, and they're like, oh my, and you see the doll on the shelf, and it's like, oh my goodness, that doll is amazing. That's just something my daughter would like. Now, Annabelle went from being a creepy doll to a burnt, scary, dirty doll, and still looks scary and dirty. Looks possessed. And for some reason, this woman gets the doll for her nursing daughter, and that nursing student daughter, and that is that's what leads to the beginning of The Conjuring. And then at the end, it says the Annabelle doll is kept inside Ed and Lorraine Warren's home to this day and is blessed twice a month. And I believe all that stuff is quote-unquote true. There was a doll, or is a doll, in a lock case. It looks like a Raggedy Ann doll in real life. And it was funny, they had a Raggedy Ann doll in the shop as well. That was a nice little nod to the real thing, quote-unquote real thing. There's a lot of people who think these Warrens are quacks. They very well maybe are. Maybe they believe they're BS. Maybe they're just feeding it. Maybe it's real and everything's haunted. I just like the idea that there is something actually in this real world that this is based on. And it ended with the doll in the case and a little creaking, and boom, the end. And that's Annabelle. And the next thing up is The Conjuring 2. Look, was this a great movie? No. It served its purpose of prolonging this Annabelle, or building on this Annabelle Conjuring world. It was confusing as to what trying to tie the storyline together as far as what they said about Annabelle in the first movie and what is going on with this movie. They showed pictures of this young Annabelle, the girl, not the doll. The doctor's like, the cop is like, that's the girl before she was, here's some pictures of her before she was possessed. And that little girl actually was part of the scariest thing for me, when this little girl runs, and then when it hits the door, it's the grown woman. It's all this ghost. But I'm guessing that this demon, because the blood of Annabelle, the girl, the woman, because the blood of that woman helped conjure up the demon, then the demon is like, I will name you Annabelle, or for some reason uses the name Annabelle based on this woman. Come on. Okay, sorry, I'm driving. Trying to, you know that already. I definitely didn't stop recording to get out of the car to do something. I had to bring my wife her purse. She forgot it. So there. So I was trying to figure out what the hell is the doll and why do they call it Annabelle? The doll was part of, or maybe the final part of The Conjuring, or they needed something for the demon to latch onto. So the blood, even though the woman killed herself, I think that was part of the ritual. She took the doll because that was part of the ritual. Okay, I'm finding something. She took the doll. That's why she took the doll off the whelp. She killed herself, made the sign, bled into the doll, and that conjured up the demon. The demon needs the doll because that's the conduit between the demon world and the real world. I'm making all this shit up as I go. But if the doll, then why do they need to possess the doll again with, The doll was never exorcised. The doll was never consecrated. So a year later, the doll gets its way in, finds its way into the nurse's house, or 6 months later, finds its way into the nurse's house, and they're saying that a spirit said, I need to get inside the doll again? That's where I'm confused. I don't know if they screwed that up or if I missed something. I'm going to chalk that up too. They're complicating it and making me confused. But overall, a couple of jump scares. Annabelle is a cool looking icon for a horror movie. And here's the thing. The movie didn't do great as far as rating as far as Rotten Tomatoes score. But if I read correctly, it cost $6 million to make and made $250 million worldwide. Hello! There is a hunger for these movies that aren't heavy on special effects, aren't heavy on CGI. And yeah, okay, it didn't make $1 billion, but it made, if for the amount of money that was put into it, it is ridiculously, profitable and successful. So, of course, they're going to keep making these movies. I don't know what the number... I think the second one didn't do as good, but still did pretty good. And I'm sure the third one's going to do good, too, because they don't cost... I think the second one cost $10 million. Because it makes so much, they give you a little more to chew on, a little more to work with. And there really isn't much CGI. There isn't much special effects. It looked like there was some demon makeup. I don't know if it was practical or CGI. There was some... that was really it. That was the main special effects. Like there's something on the ceiling, something with the demon, a couple demon shots. They could be CGI. I don't know. But other than that, it's just jump scares and spooky little things of like a record player turning on, a sewing machine turning on, popcorn popping itself. But it's effective. It works. The TV turning off and having fuzz in the room with the woman, maybe because I don't know why. I don't know. Maybe close to the doll. We shall see. I don't know where we go from here. I think we go back further, and maybe we find out that this doll, it's not just a coinky-dink, that the demon can go inside the doll because the doll is haunted. But if it's called Annabelle Creation, and we go back further time, and they like a kid's like, this is my doll Annabelle, and then it just so happens that Annabelle then gets possessed through a conjuring by a girl named Annabelle, and then tries to possess an actress named Annabelle. Sorry, I had to go there. I'm curious. Hey, stay on your own side, buddy. I'm curious to see where we go from here. But Annabelle Creation is not next, if I'm correct. I believe The Conjuring 2 is next. So, the next time I'm talking about a horror movie, I'm pretty sure it's going to be that. And who knows, there may be even more killer doll movies in my future this month. We shall see. There's plenty of time and plenty of movies left. But that's it. That's it, my friends. I want to thank you for listening. You know where to find me. On Twitter, on Instagram, it's Geek Mentality. On Facebook, it's Fans Not Experts. The website is fansnotexperts.com. And before they moved out of the house, my first thought was, okay, if this guy brings a creepy doll home and all this shit starts going down, why would I live in that house? And why would I keep that doll in my coming attraction baby? What do they call those things? Expected child. Why would I put that creepy ass doll in their room? I don't know. And I don't know who this woman is. She's Annabelle something. Every time I saw her, I thought it was Betty Gilpin from Glow. Many times I go, wow, she's very familiar, but it wasn't Betty from Glow. It was this other woman who I don't know. The guy, I don't know. They seem familiar. I always say when my wife watches Hallmark movies, they get these actors and actresses who just look familiar enough. So if you get a Dean Cain, they find an actress who looks like someone who looks like someone, but is really nobody. If you get a movie with Candace Cameron, they'll get a I call them straight white men. That's their names, or regular, generic white men. That's what I call them. Just to get a generic guy who looks like every other guy, and they have perfect hair. And that's how both of these actors seem to be for me. They both looked familiar, but I couldn't tell you, and I probably have never seen them in anything because they just their thing is they're both handsome and good looking, and that's how And they were fine actors. They weren't bad or anything. I was completely, they didn't take me out or anything like that. It's just, I don't know who they are. And sometimes that's better. Sometimes when you see these little horror movies, when you see people who are unknowns, it keeps you in the movie because you're not like, oh my goodness, Steve Martin is going through this. He's getting haunted, but it's Steve Martin. Sometimes it's better for these little, especially these little horror movies. So that's it, my friends. Annabelle, not bad. Not bad. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad I'm watching these movies. I'm glad I'm watching both series that I'm watching And I still have other sequels I want to catch up on. My goodness. We are well over the halfway bump. We have 13 movies left. Wow. It's amazing. Every year I think, am I going to find 30 movies? And now I'm like, oh, geez, am I going to, I'm catching up with these movies. Am I going to watch all the movies I want to watch? Probably not. I'll be back next year, God willing. My goodness, knock on wood. That's a steering wheel, not wood, so I should probably focus more on driving. My friends, thank you for listening. I'm going to go now. I'm taking a turn. Ooh, I got to pay attention. Imagine if something bad happened and the last thing you heard was, no! And then, years go by and my wife finds this SD card. What's this? And she plays it and she hears my death. And then she puts it out as a podcast and then ghosts start coming. Oh my God, I think I just wrote a new horror movie. Okay, I have to go. I have to go home and write this horror movie. Ladies and gentlemen, see you tomorrow. Here is my theme song. This is my podcast. I made it. Geek Mentality's what I named it. And I think you should listen and subscribe. 'Cause I'm kinda funny and awesome. I think that I'm worth your time. And I'm kinda handsome. My mom says, please listen and please subscribe. At least listen to this episode.
Paranoid experts.